Alright, let's see here. Well, I'm trying to get this set up a little bit better today, guys. I wish I could zoom in a little bit on that, but it's. I wish I didn't have to wear glasses where the light's always shining off. I got to figure that part out. So sorry about that. Hey, it's September 10th. I was going to do. It is September the 10th, and also we was going to do Psalms 10 on September the 10th of 2025. And before I did that, I was going to go over this Charlie Kirk shooting today. Charlie Kirk is somebody I didn't really know that well, but he was someone who was always, you'd see little snippets of him on YouTube and stuff. And um, I really grew to really admire who he was. He kind of would do debates with people, and he was kind of loud and not loud, but he was just kind of in their face. He was not afraid to really challenge people. He did, but he always did it peacefully and quietly, and sometimes he came off a little arrogant or whatever. But um, in today's culture, we've got a culture today that is loud, proud, arrogant, and in your face. And sometimes it takes people to be that same way back, uh, so they can even get it. There's just some people that unless you just challenge them to their faces, they're not going to get it because if you're a good little Christian that just goes to church and comes home and blends in with the world, well, they never even hear about you and they're not concerned with you. The devil sure isn't concerned. Um, but if you're out in culture and you're affecting it in any kind of way, shape, or form, people are going to hate you. And Jesus said this. He said that you're going to be hated for my name's sake. He said, if they hated me, how much more will they hate my children? And that's the way it is. If you're a follower of Christ, if you're affecting culture, if you're salt and light, and I thought about this before. Salt is abrasive and light is abrasive. I was thinking about, let's say you're in a dark room or whatever, and you kind of get used to the darkness after a while, right? And uh, somebody turn on a bright light, and it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's bright. Turn the light off. But then if you just give it some time, you'll notice, hey, this is not bad. Now I can see things. I can see things I couldn't see before. And salt is also abrasive, and it brings color to things, and it brings out the true flavors of things. And Jesus made a point about, you know, what's going to happen if the salt has lost its, I think he said savor or something like that. Um, I need to look that up. But anyway, yeah, let me see if I can look that. What happens if the salt has lost? Yeah, Matthew 5:13 says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has saved," to be find a version that's not saying things like thenceforth. Uh, New International Version. Here we go. "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his savor," no, that's the same one. Hang on just a second. Oh, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to switch it. Let me look it up on here. Matthew 5:13. Let me just switch over here real quick. Olive tree. Okay, Matthew 5:13. Matthew. Oops, I can't. Oh, they've got this in the way. I'll have to go here. I'll go down to 5:13. Here we are. Uh, you are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good works and you give glory to your Father who is in heaven. All right, so that's uh, that's what I wanted to read regarding that. But I feel like let me go back here. Boom. So I think that we can show our salt and our light by not being as in your face as Charlie Kirk was, but also he was a political person as well as a Christian. So he was, in that landscape. And he also had an entire platform where he was challenging, just people in general in debates and things like that. So that's why he came across that way, I believe. And but anyway, Charlie Kirk was. I'm not going to continue to try to defend him, but because there's some people that just didn't like him, and there's others that do, and I was one of the ones that really liked him. Every time I would see him, um, and but the thing is that he was a very kind man. He had two young kids. He was married for 4 years, and they lost. Today they lost their dad, and his wife lost her husband. And the Charlie Kirk was not the kind of person that would ever harm a flea. He was a good man, and he didn't deserve to die. And whether he liked him or not is irrelevant. It's just the kind of society we live in. You shouldn't be shot or killed, or either for having an opinion or speaking what you believe is true. And anyway, that's the kind of world we live in, obviously. Um, I would challenge you guys, if you haven't heard of Charlie Kirk, to go to his YouTube channel and check him out. Check out some of the things that he said. I was looking at something here. I'll try to show you just a piece of it. Um, yeah, here we go. Let me show you a little bit of this. I'm just going to go to different sections of it.
Somebody emailed us, freedom@charliekirk.com. See, Charlie, this is why I can't believe in God. How could you believe in God after this? It's a very important question. I don't want to be immediately dismissive. So let's first go to what we as Christians or Jews, but what ethical monotheists, we have the problem of evil. Atheists have evil no problem. You see, on the atheist side, they can't say that evil actually exists, because without God, if God does not exist, then we are nothing more than just a clump of cells, and there is no such thing as evil. You only know something is evil if you have good to compare it to. You only know something is right because you have a standard of right. For example, if I have a piece of paper.
Good old ads. You gotta always love those. I'm going to go on a little bit further. He does a squiggly line and a straight line. He does a squiggly line and a straight line, and he says it's something that you only have reference points for that. But let me go up to this. So he's talking about a shooting that happened in Minneapolis a few weeks ago. So here.
Standard. And this is a principle also shared by Jews and Christians alike. But also understand this, and I got this from Dennis Prager. We as Christians, or Jews, we have to explain the problem of evil. We also have to explain natural disasters. That's a toughie. Atheists, they have to explain everything else. If you are out there and you look at this, and you are angry and you are mad and you are upset at this horrific act of evil, I would just say, how do you know it's evil? By what standard do you know is it evil? And you know it because
And by the way, some of the people are literally laughing at the fact that Charlie was shot today. They're making jokes about it because they didn't politically believe the same thing as him, and they hated Charlie Kirk and stuff like that, and it's kind of weird to now hear about Charlie getting killed and hearing just a few weeks ago what he said about the differences between Christians and other people and how we view these kind of acts and how God views it.
you're appealing to Christian ethics or Jewish ethics or Judeo-Christian ethics in that regard. Secondly, the atheist has to explain everything else around us. They have to explain life. They have to explain the longest sentence ever recorded, which is DNA. They have to explain the fine-tuning of the universe. They have to explain why the earth exists. They have to explain physics. They have to explain the laws of reason. They have to explain the law of thermodynamics. They have to explain it all, and they have to say, oh, it's all just an act of randomness. But if it's all just an act of randomness, then morality is just random. And isn't it interesting that this shooter, we know nothing about the shooter except early 20s, and I'm sure this guy is or gal, but likely a gal, as sick, twisted, awful, demonic as possible. It's a guy. This guy who is now dead, who could have killed a lot more, was only expressing an existential emptiness. Why was this guy drawn to a church to murder young people at Mass? And so while that email is well received, Charlie, how could you believe in God after this? The question that I would respond is, well, how can you not believe in a God that created the heavens and the earth? The problem of evil has well outdated every single person. It's predated almost every single commentator. But if you don't believe in God, then you say evil's no problem. But if you are upset with it, you actually are implying that you believe in God. You might be angry at God. You might be wrestling with God. You might be mad at God. You might think that God is unjust. That's a completely different thing than not believing in God. In fact, we're called to wrestle with God. It's very normal in the Old Testament for people to cry out to God in disgust or anger. It's not always justified, but it's very normal.
Okay, then it's got a little commercial here. I'm going to pass up. Going up to here.
Because of God and our belief in God. And remember, Christianity is the answer to the problem of evil. There would be no need for Jesus to sacrifice himself for us if we had never sinned, if we had not contaminated this earth. Christ's work will ultimately fix all of the wrongs. God created a good world. In the beginning, Bereshit, he says, God created the heavens and the earth. Evil was not part of God's original design, but entered through human rebellion, as it says in Genesis 3. The source of evil is human rebellion. In Romans 5:12, very clearly Paul writes this in what is known as the believer's constitution, quote, therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because all sinned. Now, God does have sovereignty over evil. Evil exists, but it's not outside of God's control. He can overrule and redeem it. At times, he allows it to happen. For example, in Genesis 50:20, one of my favorite verses, what the enemy went for evil, God will use it for good. The book of Job, which is actually the oldest book of the Bible, the first book ever written. It was a book written actually before Genesis. We know that Satan is active, yet God sets the boundaries. This shows that while evil is very real, God bends it towards his perfect purposes.
And it's interesting to hear Charlie say all this now that he has been shot by a crazy evil person. Um, Here he is laying out kind of what God allows and where evil came from, and God's plan and all of it, and how that he can even use crazy things like this for good. And that's exactly what I was praying today, was that Charlie's wife and his two kids and his family and stuff, and all the people that have ever heard him and been inspired by Charlie would would be just, I don't know, not emboldened necessarily, but just encouraged in the things that Charlie has said in the past, and the stand that he took for the gospel. And I'll finish this out, and then I'll go back to start our reading tonight. But I just thought this was a really good video, considering that he just did this 2 weeks ago, and it kind of was super timely for now, I thought.
The cross is God's answer to evil, and this is why Christianity matters. The cross is the answer to evil.
The cross is the answer to evil. And all these people that, are talking about taking up arms and killing people and to get even, that's not the answer. It's it's the message of the cross still to this day. That's the only thing that people really need. It's changing the hearts and minds of people. And the only way you can do that is through God's radical change that He brings by breathing life into a soul and into a heart.
No answer to evil. We have an answer to evil, and I don't want to discount the pain, the mystery, and the confusion that you might have around evil. But understand, it's because you know what is good, you're only even able to articulate what is evil. The atheist dilemma is that if we're nothing more than just a bunch of particles and chemicals that have accidentally evolved over millions of years, what is your morality? It must come through revelation above reason. The problem should be reframed. The question is, what should not be, why does evil exist? Instead, it should be, what has God done about it? And the cross is the answer to that.
All right. Let's go back over here. Turn. Okay, we're back. Sorry, it takes me for so long to. This computer is not the best computer setup, but anyway, I just wanted to get that out before I start this. Tragedy today, horrific. What happened to Charlie, and but anyway, he laid out it very plain that the cross is the answer for the world today, and God will use this. I'm thankful that Charlie, I figure he died. He was shot literally in the neck, and I happened to see the video on X today before. I'm sure they've taken it down by now, and it isn't something that I'm happy I saw, because I mean, like, just blood was just shooting out of his neck. But he probably died very quickly, and I'm thankful that he didn't suffer slowly or something like that, And anyway, it's just terrible what people do. Terrible what evil does, but this was, make no mistake, this was satanic and spiritual in every way. All right, we're going to switch over to something a little more positive now, hopefully, and go over our Bible verse. Let's go back to the olive thing. All right. So let's go back to Psalms. Let's go to 10. All right. Why, O Lord, do you stand far away? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? In arrogance, the wicked hotly pursue the poor. Let them be caught in the schemes that they have devised. For the wicked boasts of the desires of his soul, and the one greedy for gain curses and renounces the Lord. In the pride of his face, the wicked does not seek him. All his thoughts are, there is no God. His ways prosper at all times. Your judgments are on high out of his sight. As for all his foes, he puffs at them. He says in his heart, I shall not be moved. Throughout all generations, I shall not meet adversity. His mouth, is filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue are mischief and iniquity. He sits in ambush in the villages. In hiding places, he murders the innocent. His eyes, well, wow, okay. Man, that's crazy that I just read that. He sits in ambush in the villages and hiding places. He murders the innocent. His eyes steadily watch for the helpless. He lurks in ambush like a lion in his thicket. He lurks that he may seize the poor. He seizes the poor when he draws them into his net. The helpless are crushed, sink down, and fall by his might. He says in his heart, God has forgotten. He has hidden his face, he will never see it. Arise, O Lord, O God, lift up your hand, forget not the afflicted. Why does the wicked renounce God and say in his heart, you will not call to account? But you do see, for you note mischief and vexation, that you may take it into your hands. To the helpless commits himself. You have been the helper of the fatherless. Break the arm of the wicked and evildoer. Call his wickedness to account till you find none. The Lord is king forever and ever. The nations perish from his land. O Lord, you hear the desire of the afflicted. You will strengthen their heart, and you will incline your ear to do justice to the fatherless and the oppressed, so that man who is of the earth may strike terror no more. All right, I'm not going to go over any of that. To me, it's all very, very obvious. I'm going to probably sign off here. Let me go back over here, full screen. All right, guys, I hope everybody's following along with this. And again, whether or not you were a fan of Charlie Kirk, I just pray that you will listen to that message that he said about Christians and our how we view life and morality and good and evil and where it comes from and what the answer to the craziness is and to all the questions are. And I think that he was an incredible man of God, and sometimes he could be abrasive, but that's for a culture that is more abrasive. Again, sometimes it takes an abrasive person to get noticed and to make an effect. So, hey, hope everybody's had a good week so far, and I hope you guys are doing your own studies and that you're having your own kairos moments, like Pastor Rob talks about at church. And you guys love everybody. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.